Donald Trump was elected because Americans are tired of being hated by their leaders. The real estate billionaire has his flaws, but in a moment when politicians on both the left and right were calling the country sexist, racist, lazy, and entitled, Donald Trump was calling to make America great again. The president's second term is off to an impressive start, and most of his supporters are simply relieved to have a man who loves the country back in office. But with Trump's initial success comes larger questions. Greatness must be measured in context. It's related to what the philosopher Aristotle called telos, or the ultimate objective or end. To make America great, we must first understand its purpose, its nature, its context. We must first answer the question of our age. Who are we? With the election of Donald Trump, a number of ideas about national identity have been completely rejected. Americans don't want to be global citizens. They want to be a distinct and sovereign country. Citizens of the United States don't want to live in a multicultural patchwork with segmented communities speaking different languages and celebrating different identities. The American people don't want to act as world police, sacrificing the blood of their sons and the treasure of their nation to impose a global order that puts their home country last. Americans don't want the United States to operate as an office park or an economic zone. They want their government to put the well-being of Americans first instead of the maximization of arbitrary economic measures like the gross domestic product. The people of this nation are tired of leaders who belittle and insult them for wanting to be a real country. We know which progressive identities Americans have rejected, but is there one that they can collectively embrace? It's not enough to reject multiculturalism, globalism, and economic essentialism. To make America great, conservatives and right-wingers must offer an alternative identity which binds our nation together and gives it a telos. This realization scares many conservatives who have been taught to flee discussions of identity for fear of being called ugly names. This fear is understandable. Identity is a powerful thing capable of moving men's passions towards both great and terrible deeds. It's not to be taken lightly, but for this reason, conservatives can't afford to abandon the topic to the Democrats and the political left. The question of who are we will be answered, and will be answered by those who are willing to engage with it. If the right abandons the question to progressives out of cowardice, then they will live in a world defined by their enemies. Is America essentially a dream? An unattainable goal towards which the nation is always progressing? A set of ideas that anyone and everyone from around the world can adopt and join? The propositional nation, one built on an adherence to a series of assertions, is the alternative that conservatives have offered my entire life, and the default identity that they are now attempting to return to with the defeat of the multicultural globalist vision. The problem with this definition is that it can't hold up to basic scrutiny. If America is an idea, a set of propositions to which anyone can adhere, then any set of people should be able to copy those ideas and achieve similar results. There's no need for immigrants to travel to America or spend time among its people because the people and place aren't special. Only the ideas matter, right? Let's take as an example Liberia, which is an African republic that was founded to give freed slaves and freeborn American blacks a country of their own, absent of the discrimination that existed in the United States at the time. The Liberian Constitution was founded on the principles of the American Republic and contains most of the key features, including separation of powers, checks and balances, and its very own copy of the Bill of Rights. Despite photocopying the principles and structure of the United States, Liberia has a very different outcome and is ranked as one of the most corrupt countries in the entire world. This is a result that seems to challenge the core assertion of the propositional nation. The propositional nation also reveals its incoherence when observing domestic politics in the United States. The argument is that anyone who believes in the idea of America should be welcomed into the United States because this is what defines our identity as citizens. but that assertion is never followed to its logical conclusion. Ilhan Omar is a Somalian immigrant who serves in the United States Congress while very obviously hating the country. Omar regularly goes on ridiculous tirades about the racist and oppressive nature of the people who took her into their home. Several media outlets have reported that Omar's second husband was in fact her brother, who she married in order to commit immigration fraud. The representative of Minnesota's 5th District regularly addresses her supporters in Somali and promises to prioritize the interests of Somalian immigrants and, depending on which translation you trust, the interest of the country of Somalia itself. It's incredibly obvious to any honest actor that Omar is not loyal to the idea of America or its principles, and yet no one is calling to have her removed from office. Anyone who proposed that she should be denaturalized for her alleged acts of immigration fraud, much less her rejection of the American proposition, would be labeled a racist or fascist even by many conservatives. The propositional nation is just a sloppy feint from conservatives meant to dodge the larger and thornier issue of American identity. None of its proponents have any intention of doing what it would take to enforce their own definition of identity. A propositional nation is frankly impossible, in no small part because free speech sits at the heart of the American proposition. If there is one principle that is held as sacred in the United States, it is the ability to publicly reject the American proposition itself and remain a member in good standing. No one pushing the idea of a propositional nation is serious about enforcing that identity, because if they did, it would create a truly totalitarian state. A nation which is defining its membership by constant conformity to the ideological dictates of the state would be far closer to actual fascism than any boogeyman that progressives have conjured up. So, if America is not a proposition, then what is it? What defines it as a nation? The same thing that has defined nations for most of human history. It's a mixture of shared language, history, heritage, tradition, religion, and culture. In his book, Who Are We?, the center-left Harvard professor Samuel Huntington, not exactly a far-right radical, concluded that the Anglo-Protestant tradition was the core of American identity. Being a man of the left, Huntington didn't want to limit Americans to being just people of English ancestry or being Protestant Christians, but he recognized the importance of having a definitive core culture to which new members must assimilate. Without a clearly identifiable cultural heritage to which new arrivals must conform, a country is just begging to degrade into a multicultural morass. Principles are important, ideas are important, but those ideas aren't Gnostic and disembodied. The American proposition arises from a specific people, the American nation, and can't simply be separated from them and applied to another nation with exactly the same results. If America is to become great again, it must do so in the context of our Anglo-Protestant heritage and ensure that those who are lucky enough to join our great nation seek to assimilate to that tradition. The question of who are we will be answered, and it's critical that conservatives are ready to offer a shared identity that acknowledges and honors our past while looking forward to the amazing things that our shared nation can achieve. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and click like, and if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a great time to do so. If you'd like to get these broadcasts as podcasts, make sure to subscribe to the Auron MacIntyre Show on your favorite podcast platform, and when you do, leave a rating or a review. It really helps with the algorithm magic. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter or Gab or Substack or Instagram, if you'd like to watch these videos on Rumble or Odyssey, the links to do all of that are down below in the description. If you'd like to pick up my book, The Total State, you can do that on Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Amazon, or even your favorite local bookstore. And if you'd like to pick up some merch from the merch store to go ahead and support this show, you can do that at shopblazemedia.com. Just go to the Auron MacIntyre collection. If you'd like to watch any of my episodes or read any of my essays, you can do that over at The Blaze. Thanks everybody for watching, and as always, I'll talk to you next time.